starting to get the hang of this now, I think. I really think I'm slowly getting there. Oh, no, hang on. Is it? It's just gone off again on my screen anyway. Can someone let me know if I'm live? Is this happening? Nope, I'm not seeing any chat. And, oh, okay, so I'm not live. Oh, it's suggesting it might be. Oh, there could be problems. Is this set up correctly? Oh, I thought I was getting the hang of this, but I'm obviously not. Let's have a look at the stream again. That's all fine. What is the... Oh, it's really high bit rate. Why is it... Oh, this is annoying. Right, let's see if... nope. Okay, I'm going to restart the stream in a sec. In fact, I might be able to sort it out from here. Okay, hold on and bear with me. Right, let's see if we can't sort that out. Output. Right, I reckon this is going to work. It's going to work, isn't it? Come on. How are we doing now? How are we doing? Is on. Okay, I've got one message saying is on. Oh, I think we're getting better. I think this is happening. Are we there? Anybody else going to say we're on? It's really difficult to know with this stuff. Aha! Okay, hello. There we go. I'm getting a few through. Thank you very much for helping me and bearing with me. I'll just point my mic this way a little bit. So cover your ears. Hopefully that's not too much static for you. Is my mic working this time? Can you hear me in both channels? It was actually a fairly easy fix. There was like 2 menus for having a mono setup, and I chose the wrong one and it didn't work. Hello all. Hello to Zed, someone VB, Jamie, Isalis, Nerding Freak, and so forth. Hello to you all. Okay, so today's session is talking about portfolios, and I've got a few on that have been sent to me to review, and I was just going to do a sort of general overview of portfolios from my point of view in terms of what I've researched and putting together my own portfolio, although it's very rough at the moment because I'm in a very lucky situation where people just seem to come to me through my YouTube and other sources, so my portfolio is quite rubbish, and I suppose that's probably important to start with. In terms of a portfolio, it's only as good as the places you sell yourself, so where you're putting your portfolio, how many people are clicking on it, because it's no good if it's just sitting there, maybe on something like ArtStation, let's say. If it's just sitting there and you've had like 3 views on it over the last 3 years, then it may be the best portfolio in the world, but it's not going to get you very far. You need to be pushing your stuff out there, and that's the most important thing. Well, I say the most important thing. The most important thing is that your portfolio shows your best work, actually. That's the most important thing. I haven't updated my portfolio for a while, which is bad practice, so don't follow my lead. You can look at my portfolio on ArtStation if you like. It's Grant Abbott, just type that in. I should come up, and it's not particularly great, so don't spend too long looking at it. Anyway, so I've got a few portfolios coming through. That's great. Sorry about the coughing. And we'll just, everybody's saying hi, that's nice. Hello everybody. And we've got 70 people watching, that's lovely. It's quite addictive, this. I'm really enjoying this sort of, error. I'm getting an error. Have I lost, have I died? My sound is fixed indeed. Please use a keyframe frequency of 4 seconds or less. Currently keyframes are not, oh dear. Well, hopefully, maybe that's something I need to sort out in the future. There's an error coming up on my screen here saying, but hopefully it's still working. Still working fine, thank you very much. I'm still getting used to it, thank you for bearing with me with this. We're all on a journey, aren't we? And I'm on a learning journey of going live and doing live streams. I'm hoping I will get better at this as I go along. But I'm glad that people are bearing with me. This is a great community. I'm lucky that this is the community I'm in, this sort of Blender sharing community. If it was another community that's a bit harsher, I could be in trouble. Okay, so What I was going to do was show a good example of a portfolio from ArtStation to start with. It's a random one that I thought, oh, that looks nice, as in some good artwork, and we'll just analyse a tiny bit about what makes it good. So let me see, I'll make myself smaller. There we go, right in the corner there. Put myself in the mouth. Wait, what? Why am I being silly? Right, and there we go. So you see, I'm still learning this stuff. So this is Ekaterina from Nottingham in the UK, and some pretty good work here. Let's look. This is it usually goes most recent. It's just the most recent posted, and people put their most recent work first. So let's have a look at that and see what's going on. I think I've seen. Yes, I have. Nice model. Looks great, doesn't it? And we've got a couple of shots. So we've got a close up, so we can see the detail in the textures and the detail in the model. And then we've got a long shot to sort of show in terms of shot sizes. This is learning about shot sizes. Actually, that's in fact the first one isn't a long shot. No, it's a medium close up, that is. And this is a long shot. So we can see the whole figure and the background, which I don't think is that great, to be fair. You've got to be a bit careful. If you're going to put your model in situ, as it were, then make sure the whole picture looks great. And even if you're not an environment artist, then don't show your model in an environment if you don't feel comfortable doing it. Then we've got the character turnaround, which looks great, and it's nicely displayed. I love these little embers. Little details like that just sell the model, make it look like there's a bit of action going on. And then beyond that, we've got things like the hair detail, showing understanding of probably it depends what this model's used for, and they haven't actually given much detail, have they? Well, they have got a bit of detail over here, but so the way they've done the hair, there's a fair bit of detail. The model itself with the normals, without the textures. And then they have got a lot of detail here in terms of breaking it down to show that they understand topology. So that's the sort of thing you need to be thinking about with your models. It's not just that shot there. It's all that goes behind the making of to show that, because this first shot there, could just be a sculpt and a sort of paint over without any retopology. So how do we know whether that artist is any good at it? So we scroll down and we see that they are in fact good. And a YouTube video showing the whole lot of it is a great idea as well. So that's what you're looking for in terms of where you're headed with your portfolios. I imagine most people on watching me are beginners, and if you're trying to find out about portfolios, want advice, then you're going to probably struggle to get this sort of quality perhaps, but we'll see how we get on with your portfolios in a second. Okay, the best way I think is to share your portfolio is going to be on the Discord server, and I know that might be excluding a few people. I'm sorry if that's the case. I think most people, it's just a case of sort of signing up. I think the Discord is in the chat of this channel, not the chat, the description of this video. I'll say that right in a second. If you go onto that link, and then you can post it in the channel that says live stream links info, and I've got a few in there that I'll go through. I mean, it might be the case that you can do it in the chat as well, but posting links in the chat, I think, is quite hard work by the sound of things. So we'll see. I'll just have a look at what people are saying. Oh yes, a portfolio is a showcase of artistic work. That's a very good point. What is a portfolio? I assume knowledge, and I'm sorry about that. Yeah, a portfolio is your work that you're showing off in some way. Okay. So I should have started with that one, shouldn't I? Okay. Oh no, Frank is here. Oh dear. Frank is someone on Discord who is. We often have this weird banter where he pretends to annoy me. Anyway, hello Frank. Nice to see you here. Honestly. Anyway, so I always tell him not to turn up and so forth. Anyway, anything else on here? Well, this from someone from the server. No, this was purely a random person. I just thought, oh, their portfolio looks good, so I will show that to everybody, and it's a good example. Okay, so I'm not going to answer any sculpting questions or any Blender focus questions today. I'll purely do portfolio, maybe towards the end, depending on how time's fitting and all that sort of stuff. I'm looking at the time. I should just look on my wrist, really, rather than the computer. That would make more sense. Okay. Where are we? Okay, they're only a few minutes in, that's all right. Okay. I've got to stop saying okay as well. I'm looking for a method to make random rocks in my project. Any suggestions from your video library? So we'll focus on portfolio, and I'll try and answer any sort of those random questions later on. But yes, I've got videos on that. Actually, to be fair, there's a rock creator in Blender, I think, isn't there? There's an add-on. You can just look up add-ons Blender rocks, and I think there's a rock creator. I'm answering questions that are not related to portfolio now. Stop it. Okay, let's get back to this. Right, so first let's look at the first one that was posted. So first come, first serve basis. Right, hang on, oh, I've got to scroll up further. And the first one is from Philohic, I think is the name. So I'll bring that over here. Okay, so Philip Hickey. Okay, so their name is different to what they are on Discord. Okay, so Philip, if you're watching, then maybe you can comment, but don't worry. I think some people are posting because they may not be able to make the live stream, so don't worry. But we can certainly learn from looking at different people's portfolios. Okay, I'll just scrub through the portfolio quickly, so you can see. And so they've got some detail: 3D game asset portfolio. I've created for clients and personal games. Android, blah blah blah. That's good. So you've got details about what you do. And that's useful. Perhaps a bit more detail. This is posted 2 years ago, so is this up to date is the question I would ask. But I suppose that introduction is posted 2 years ago. Nice looking models. Excellent stuff. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. And they are all similar quality, I suppose, aren't they? Looking at the order they're posted in, I would say this is one of your weaker models compared to some of the others. This one certainly has more detail, and this one I would say is probably the best. Yes, I would say that's the best. So I would have started with that one. So we're jumping onto this page, and let's say I'm a client, or perhaps I'm someone who's looking to employ lots of different people. What's that? A recruiter is the word I'm looking for. And I'm looking at your portfolio. That's the first thing I see, and it's not your best piece of work. I might jump onto the next one. So make sure at the beginning of your portfolio, if it's a video, then it's your best work. If it's the front page, it's your best work, and be really clear about that. I think is there a saying, or have I just made it up in my head? Your portfolio is only as good as your worst piece of work. In the portfolio, if that makes sense. So if I'm scrolling through a portfolio and I see a bad piece of work, then I'm going to think, oh well, did they get lucky with the other pieces? And you ask questions, why are they keeping that in there? Is that their best work? Is that what they've got, the best thing they've got to show? So make sure you take out anything that isn't any good. So I think that's me. There we go. Ando Productions is chatting on. And it's crap, not at all, it's outdated. So that's important. Keep up to date with your portfolio. The other thing, and I am going to be critical of people's portfolios. That's one of the most important things as an artist, is to be able to take criticism. I am super happy and very enthusiastic and complimentary most of the time, and so I'll do my best to not be too harsh on people. But I think that one of the most important things is that we are able to take that criticism, and I think that's where did I hear that from? It might be in an interview that Blender Guru did with an artist from Disney or something, or maybe Pixar, and they said the most important thing above artistic skill, weirdly, although I don't know whether I completely agree with that, was the fact that person can take criticism, because it's the ability to grow and become a better artist that we're all trying to do. So there will be a bit of criticism today. So this first model, you can see the harsh edges, which makes it look very computer-ish, CG, I'm going to say. So Beverly Regis. The texture looks alright, but it's very uniform, so it's the same all across the model. You tend to have different sort of wear on the edges. So in Blender, you can use the pointiness node. Only in cycles though, you can't use it in Eevee. So look that up, pointiness node, and you can then put more wear on your edges. I like this sort of aspect. There's a nice bit of detail in here, but it's very flat everywhere else. So there's a 70-30 rule as well with art pieces. 30% should be a good lot of detail, and then 70% sort of less detail, I suppose is the word. So this kind of has it, but I feel like it's lacking in the minor details. Okay, so watch out for that. I would say your other art follows a similar sort of sequence to that. The textures are getting better in this one, I would say. There's more detail in this one, but I'd be adding, want to get in closer, show more detail. In fact, if this were my portfolio, and let's say I'm updating my portfolio, so we'll put you in that position that we're updating your portfolio. Ouch, lol, sorry. It's nice that you can comment back. You're using 2.79, then start using 2.8. 2.81 now. There's so much happening in 2.81. I know maybe your computer isn't up to it. Perhaps that's unfair to say you should be, but yeah, I would update to 2.81 because there's so many more things that you can use. I think pointiness node though is in 2.79. So I would take this model and go to town on it if you're updating it, or get one of your newer ones and just use this. Put more detail into this, so where you've got a sort of window thing happening here, maybe put a few more in, put a sort of barn door, or I suppose there is a barn door there, not so harsh on the edges, a tiny bit more work on the texturing so it's not so uniform across here, and that sort of pointiness node, those sort of things. Then maybe if you're just the way you sell it, so you can have lots of pictures of this one model then, can't you? Lots of turnarounds, show the wireframe, like that other person was doing in their model, and so on. Hopefully that's enough to go by, because I want to get on to other people's as well. My PC is meh. Okay, fair enough. So yeah, I suppose that is one of the tricky things, isn't it? Have we got good enough PCs? And it is a tough one. I'm back to this person's portfolio anyway. So let's come to the next person's. What are we? Fjord. Hey guys, I really appreciate it if you take a look at my portfolio and give me some review about it. Okay, so this is Richard Bardos, I think is how you pronounce it. There we go. Yeah. This is quite nice. Having a little profile picture, that's a decent profile picture. I haven't got that on mine, it's dreadful, but that's helpful and it looks a bit more professional. So you're from Budapest, Hungary. Are you on the chat? Say hello if you are. I'm just having a quick look at what other people are saying. How can I send my portfolio? The Discord server is the best way. You can try typing your, say, can you look at my portfolio? And then I can search you on ArtStation, but it's kind of at the moment a first come first serve. So I'm looking at the ones that have sent me the links on Discord, and it's a bit easier for me to look at them. The Discord link should be in the description of this video. All going well. That's a good question actually. Before I go on to Richard, what do I think of having a YouTube channel as a portfolio with tutorials and all? Yeah, now it's worked for me. Although it's only in the past, I don't know, 4 months, maybe 6, maybe a bit more than that, maybe about 8, maybe the past year we'll say, where things have really sort of picked up. And it wasn't ever my intention to actually, was it? I've always been looking for work, but work that interests me, and I haven't worked very hard at finding it. I was more concentrating on one. I was teaching a fair bit, so that was my main focus, and then I was doing my YouTube as well, and those two were enough. As I started to pick up more jobs, then I had to cut down on my teaching, especially when I got the Atlas Empire contract recently. But they found me through YouTube, and I have had people find me through ArtStation. And that's without much effort, so it's surprising that you can just have your portfolio up there, and if it's okay-ish, which I would say mine is okay-ish, then people will contact you. Another way, I suppose, I did quite well with one particular model that I made a few years ago. It was quite a few years ago now, where it was a winter scene on Sketchfab. You can look that up. In fact, it's on my ArtStation as well. But that got featured in a few magazines and things, so I think people looked at that and it got a bit of traction. People started contacting me a little bit through that, but not that much. Back to the question, which is about having your portfolio on YouTube. and doing tutorials as well alongside it. I think that's okay from my experience, but again, my channel has been quite successful. So if it's maybe not such a successful channel, will it get that traction? It's difficult to say. And like I said at the start, it is really important to get your portfolio seen as much as your portfolio is good. And it's surprising because I don't think I'm I bet there are artists out there, game artists, looking for work, and I'm lucky enough to have been spotted by people because of my YouTube channel. And there's probably other artists out there who are better than me, who would do a better job than me even, but they aren't getting the work because they haven't been noticed, haven't been seen. So that is quite important, I think. So yeah, right, back to the portfolio. So so Richard Bardos, let's have a look. So we've got all ArcViz prop art. That's a good idea, separating it out like that, although I suppose only having 2 categories, that's fair enough, isn't it? In fact, most people have only 1 category because they like to specialise. It's a tough one, really. I find that aspect quite difficult because I'm very much a generalist and I like taking on new and different projects because I like the learning aspect. It kind of helps with my YouTube channel because I learn something new and then I can talk about it. But for most people are suggesting, most people out there would suggest that you need to kind of specialise and say, I'm this certain speciality. Specialise, yeah. Then hopefully that made sense. So having 2 categories is actually sort of more than enough. Let's have a look at your ArcViz, which looks quite good. Let's quickly see. Okay, so first glance, looks nice. And it's laid out nicely. Let's take a look at... I think this project looks the nicest because it's got the most intrigue in terms of the lighting. These are quite sort of flat, but that's not a problem. They're good, but they're not all exciting, which you kind of want to do. Maybe putting the sort of dull stuff in your portfolio is fair enough, as well as the interesting stuff. Hopefully I'm making sense there. The dull stuff is sort of, look, I can do the everyday work, but here's some exciting stuff that you might want to decide on choosing if you're a client sort of thing. Okay. Because that's the thing, you've got this portfolio link and you're sending it around to lots of different people. It's difficult to sort of rearrange it for the different clients that you're looking for. Okay, so this looks lovely, doesn't it? Yep, nice work, Richard. Oh, is it Richard? Richard, because it's got an accent over the A. I don't know. Anyway, is Richard around, or he's probably going to tune in later? I can't see any. Richard? Okay. Oh, thank you. 100% agree. Thank you, Halal. Nice to see you on here again. So let's keep going and scrolling down. This is good, by the way. A nice overall scene of this balcony, as we can see here. And then we've got the close-ups. Oh, well, the sort of different angles, basically. It's not such a close-up. Oh, and then we've got a sort of in the daylight. That's a good idea. Yep. So understanding different lighting, then showing the 3D model. This is great. Yep. And I quite like these. These are quite handy to show everything at once. I would have gone for the nighttime one in the middle though, because I think it looks better. And then that's going to be a major thing. I mean, this is minor stuff. Really great. Yep. Looking good. That's interesting. How different this one is to this one. Is that a different lighting setup? Oh, hang on. We got a background there. Not sure. Oh, sorry. Reference. I'm sorry. I wasn't reading the description. That's the reference. It's very close to the reference, isn't it? That's good. Yep. Okay. So, yeah. So, what advice have I got here? I would say it's a good level. There are going to be lots of people with this sort of level around, and you're competing against them. But it is some good stuff, and hopefully we can get you a tiny bit of exposure out here with our 115 people that are watching. But there's not much advice I can give in terms of improving this. I mean, yes, there's minor things that you could look at. Perhaps the table is a bit sharp. Perhaps a bit too much bump at the back there with the wood. I mean, these are very minor things really, and I'm not sure many people would notice them. The floor, the bump it's just a bit uniform, so maybe a little bit of a more sort of they're painted texture. Not painted, I don't mean painted, but where you've got painted layers is what I'm trying to say. So a bit more dirt in the corners, that sort of thing. Really minor things. And it looks great, especially this shot here looks lovely, doesn't it? Let's have a quick look at one of your other pieces. We'll go for the bathroom. Okay, So I would say this isn't as good as the previous one. Okay, looking at this, I'm just having a quick look at what people are saying. Yep, so looking at this, there's big spaces of texture that, I suppose it's that 70-30 rule, isn't it? We haven't really got the 30% of detail there, so we've got these big blank spots. So this bit on the sink, for example, is very bare. So really, if you're framing the shot, I would come in here, so we've got more detail in the shot, because this isn't really offering much except for a texture, and this is offering very little. So watch out for that. A little bit harsh again with the corners, probably need a bit more of a bevel, but that might just be the style of the bath. It's difficult to say. It's lacking the realism that the other one had. The bath is slightly overexposed as well, so we've lost all detail and it doesn't fade out at all. So this looks a bit like it's floating in mid-air. It's again minor points really. I'm being hypercritical at the moment, and there's some lovely work. Let's just scroll down and have a look. Okay, so only 2 shots. Perhaps I would have gone a bit closer on some of the details. Think like a wedding photographer. They go in and get these sort of lovely shots of all these minor details around the wedding that's supposed to be sort of selling the wedding, if that makes sense. You have to kind of, especially with ArcViz stuff, architectural visualization, you have to be a photographer as much as you are a digital artist, because the scenes themselves, once you've got that sort of ability, which you certainly have, looking at the previous model, you've certainly got the ability. Now we've got to start seeing you showing off this scene in the best possible way, and that then you have to be a sort of photographer framing your shots, which is working here, but I suppose you've taken it from a reference of a photographer, so that's why it probably works so well, not to be offensive. You've certainly got some skill. So hopefully there's a few minor points there that you can improve upon and build upon to improve your portfolio. But it looks really great, so well done. It would be interesting to know how much work you're getting from that. So if you are online, let us know how successful this portfolio has been. Okay, so I'm moving on to the next one. I'll just have a quick look at the chat again. This is good fun. I do like doing this. I have lots of fun doing this. It's nice when lots of people are involved and I can go to the audience and start chatting to the audience. Right, so let's take a quick scroll up and look through. Yeah, so Discord is the best place to do the submissions, if that's okay. You could try saying, can you look at my portfolio, put your name in and tell me to go to ArtStation, but it might take me a bit longer to get there. Adnan edits often in the competitions. Do you know, that's a good point that suddenly comes to my head. Enter competitions with your work, because it's a great way of getting noticed. So it depends obviously on the amount of time you have, but things like the ArtStation competitions, there's always competitions there. But just other random competitions to get your work out there, get it seen. Sketchfab have competitions. Post your work on places like Sketchfab, as many places as possible really with your portfolio, because often places like Sketchfab will have, what do they call it, a special badge that you get for, someone remind me what that is. They sort of highlight it with a special badge and it's got a name. So if you get one of those that's sort of recommended, then more people will see it because it's been tagged, as it were. So it doesn't have to be in a competition in order for you to do that. Can you enter older work in my competitions? I'd rather it was up-to-date stuff, because that's the whole point. And really, they're just kind of fun competitions. There's no prizes or anything. The whole point is to practice. But generally speaking, you can put your old work in. In fact, look at the rules of the competition, I would say. But yes, putting work into competitions, you'll get noticed more, especially if your ability is good enough. And I suppose that's the other thing, isn't it? You always want to have a portfolio, even as a beginner, because you learn things by doing things, like I'm doing with live streaming at the moment. I just thought, right, let's go for it. Even though there's 120 people watching me that might be laughing at me, I'm learning from this each time. Like now, I think I've got the sound on both channels, but hey. And I've got some funny error message. I'm learning from that, and I'm going to look that up after this live stream and find out what's going on. It's a process that we're all going through, So you'll put stuff out as a beginner, and it might be rubbish, and you'll look at it in a year's time, or maybe even a month's time, and think, oh man, that was my portfolio. But you can just have a look at it, laugh at it, and move on. And don't take yourself too seriously either. I know so many people who don't do things because they're afraid of what people will think of them. And there is the sort of school of thought, but what if someone sees my portfolio and thinks, oh, that's rubbish, and gives up on me, and they'll never look again? You've always got that risk. I think it's much more likely. It's much more likely that they won't even remember you, and they'll look again at your portfolio if you go for a job or something. So don't panic about those things. Kind of get over yourself in a sense. You don't make that much difference. I know that's a really rude thing to say. Scrub that. Let's cut that bit out. But hopefully I'm kind of making sense there. That kind of think of yourself as I'm not that important anyway. So what does it count? Just do it. And it's funny because most people's opinion of themselves, I'm going off on one, but hopefully this is all right and it is relevant. Most people's opinion of themselves is what they think other people think of them. Rather than having an actual opinion of themselves, but it's what they think other people think of them. And we've got to get over that and actually have an opinion of yourself. It's a weird psychological thing there. I do love psychology, and that's why I'm always coming out with these weird things that I've read somewhere. Anyway, I'm just seeing some people's posts. Interesting. I've signed up for ArtStation and was surprised to find really good tutorials on there. Have you thought of putting your tutorials on there? No. Good question. I suppose I really ought to get out there more with my tutorials and stuff, but I suppose YouTube's being successful enough for me. There's probably loads of things that I should be doing business-wise, but I don't have the time. And weirdly, I'd rather be like that because I'm getting enough of an income, and I'm really busy and enjoying myself. That's the main thing. So there's probably loads of things like paid-for courses, which I'm going to talk about in a second, actually, because there's a few people that I think their courses are really great, so I'm going to recommend some. I've lost the train of thought because I'm looking at the chat at the same time while trying to talk. Hopefully I'm making sense. Hopefully, anyway. Right. Quick questions then, and then I'll go on to the next portfolio. Grant, from which YouTuber did you learn in the start? I think probably Blender Guru. I think does some fantastic stuff. And you can't deny that he's just passed 1 million subscribers, and for good reason. And that's a good place to start. In fact, the Blender channel is the best place to start if you're learning, and go and do some donuts, as they say, with Blender Guru. So yeah, he's been around from when I first started, it seems. So he's done very well. Does it cost to live stream? No, it doesn't. It's free to stream. Anyway, so let's go to another portfolio. Hopefully there's some advice that you can take from that, Richard. Or Richard? Richard? I don't know. Why am I trying to pronounce it in weird different ways when I'm definitely getting it wrong? Okay, so we've got an Instagram one. Let's see if this works. How is this going to work? It's popping up. Something popping up. That's great. I probably ought to do it on another screen in case there's something we shouldn't be seeing on here. Anyway, so this is from Maffa3D. And this is a competition entry, isn't it? Because I've seen that. Oh, this is nice, isn't it? Okay, so there's some good pieces. Oh, that's another competition entry. I recognise these. Good. Oh, and that's another competition entry. Yes, yeah, there we go. Sorry, why am I pointing out everything's a competition entry? And in fact, why am I doing that? Stop. Okay, so good. Let's scroll. So do you see what I did there? And that's what a person who's jumping on your portfolio for the first time will do. They'll go, oh yeah, and scroll through. And are you good enough, or aren't you? They'll probably jump to the next one, depending on the quality and depending on what they're looking for. So watch out for that. The first thing that jumps to me is, oh, this looks good. This looks good. This looks good. This isn't quite as good. This doesn't have much detail. So I'm, again, being mega critical. I hope that's okay with people. I can't tell what's going on here. And this one, although it looks kind of interesting, but there's not much detail. This is very different to the rest of the stuff. So I'm just sort of pointing out my first thoughts, and hopefully this is helpful to you. This one does not look as good, and it's the first one. This one doesn't look as good as some of the other ones. And actually this one, even though it's a competition entry, which I'll talk about another time, because I'll probably do a live stream for the competition, by the way. Oh, someone's chatting to me. Okay, yeah, sorry. Trying to keep up with all these things that are going on in my different screens. Hopefully you'll bear with me for all these sort of interruptions that I'm going through. So from that, hopefully you can get an idea of how you should reorder this. And in fact, do you need to take anything out? We get very personal with our own work, and we think, oh yeah, but that took me absolutely ages. And they're probably some of the first projects you did. And you think, oh, that I really put so much effort into that. That is a good job I've done there. But actually, get someone to look at it and say, which do you prefer? And they might look at other ones to what you're thinking, because you're emotionally attached to these pieces. Things like this fairly interesting. Let's focus on this one. Let's go into this. I got bored, so made something. Oh, of course, this is Instagram, isn't it? I'm forgetting this is art. This is an art station. I'm being a bit of an idiot, actually. If you're using Instagram as your portfolio, you do have to be careful in that sense. Do you see what I just did there? I made a mistake as a viewer that I was assuming this was a portfolio instead of an Instagram. So that's an important point. Where are you posting it? Yes, you do want to get out there on Instagram, but don't have it as your main portfolio source for that reason. I would send people to ArtStation where you can set it up and you can have particular ones that are your main focus. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm just quickly looking at any questions or any comments on this that people are commenting. There's Richard. Yes, thank you. Say my name however you want to. I really appreciate it. Well, thank you, Richard is the English way of saying it. So I don't know whether that's correct. It's nice to see people on here and talking about the work. This is great fun. Loving this. I am really enjoying the live. I've said that so many times, but I am really enjoying the live streams. I will be doing the competition review announcements as a live stream. I think that'll be much more fun because then people can kind of vote as well on which they think the best, and I can look at the comments for some inspiration about which are the most popular as well. So get your mates to all look at the live stream and say, oh, that one's really good. Anyway, moving on. So I should be looking at this in a different way as in terms of Instagram, and it is a different approach with Instagram. So that kind of answers a question about, can I use Instagram as my portfolio? Because Instagram tends to be, this is what I'm currently working on. So in this case, got bored, so made something. And you wouldn't really want to put that in your portfolio as such, would you? Because that makes you sound like you're a person that gets bored. And of course you aren't, because you're constantly looking for new things that drives you and motivates you, and artistic inspiration and so forth. When we're looking for jobs, we say these things in interviews and so forth, don't we? No, that's a good question. I'll come to that in a second. So, watching out for Instagram as a piece. But let's review a few of the other pieces. In terms of what to put in your portfolio, this one's a little bit bare in these locations up here. I'll talk about this another time, but I don't think it's quite for your portfolio. It's a good piece, but not for your portfolio, because there's better ones down here. This is kind of interesting. I quite like the quirky nature of it, maybe. This one looks like a typical portfolio piece, although it doesn't have a pizzazz about it. Pizzazz is maybe a British word, but it's something that makes you quite excited. Oh, I want to click on that and learn more, sort of thing. So you're obviously at a decent level, but maybe we need to think about the pizzazz factor. So what makes you different from other people that have lots of this sort of art? Let's take a quick look at this shot. We've got loads of floor down here, loads of ceiling here, and if I'm framing this, I'm thinking I want to be probably here. Can you see where my mouse is, hopefully? So think about photography. Learn a bit about photography when you're framing your architectural visualizations, which it seems to be going on here. Okay. Hopefully that's a bit of a sort of whistle-top store for you, Mappa 3D, which is Marius. So thanks for posting your link there. Is Marius with us? You can say hello. Right, what was that question I was going to... really solid. Where is it? Oh, there's too many people chatting. I've lost the question now. Did you look at Blender Guru's Donut Land? Yes, I did. It was actually very good. What I like about Blender Guru's videos now, he doesn't dwell on things. It's not so good if you're a beginner, but he says, I use this technique to do this, and then I use this technique to do that. So for people like me, it's really useful because I think, oh yeah, that's a good way of doing it. That's a good workflow, because we already know most of the time how to do those individual stuff. And sometimes if he does something complicated, he'll go a bit more in depth with that. Another person who does that well is Zacharias Reinhardt. In fact, he has just brought out a new course. I'm doing a bit of a sales pitch here because there's an affiliated link underneath this in the description. So you can click on that and I will get some, commission rate for selling his course. But I do know, I've been very impressed with this course. I wouldn't sell something unless sell something. I'm not selling, I'm just sort of recommending. I wouldn't recommend something which is kind of selling in the sense of what I'm doing. And I hope this is okay. I know it's people call me a shill sometimes when I do this. I had to look that up, a shill, and someone who's sold out, as it were. I hope that's not the case and you don't think that. But it is a way of me getting some income from this channel. So you'll be supporting me if you click on the link. There's another one as well that's used Olav 3D or 3D Olav, I can't remember now. But he's done a new course as well, and the link's in the description. And that's about simulations, physics simulations. Lots of people ask me, oh, can you teach me about, or do a video about simulations? It's not really my specialty, but it's something I probably will get into later on. But whilst you're waiting, then you can look at Olav's course, which is he's a very well respected video content creator, so look up his channel as well. He does mainly sort of techie type stuff with simulations and things, which is really good, and he's got a good style of teaching. Zacharias Reinhardt, his course is, well, I say it's his course, it's CG Boost's course, and they've got a new teacher, and the course looks really good. I haven't had enough time to look at it in detail though, but it does, there's lots of hours there. It's about Substance Painter. It's something that I am actually probably going to go through the course myself because I would like to learn a bit more about Substance Painter. The only problem is Substance Painter has a license fee, so unless you're a student, you can get a student license for Substance Painter. Anyway, what was that great question that I was going to ask? Someone's purchased the Deco Medium Pro and having problems. That's frustrating. There's always a few people that get driver issues, and it's always make sure your graphics card is up to date and your drivers for the tablet are up to date, and even updating Windows, make sure that's if you're using Windows or Mac OS or whatever it is that you're using. If that's a problem, then contact Deco. Because they will probably have some advice for you. Otherwise, you may have to send it back and go for a completely different brand. Because if that brand doesn't work, if that driver doesn't work for that particular model, that means their brand's drivers are probably not going to work on your particular system. That's a slight aside. I thought I could quickly answer that question for someone. Oh, can you create assets for game in Unreal? I'm searching for artists for my game studio. I'm not very good at them. You see, I get quite a few asks like that. I'm assuming you're asking me and not just everybody on the stream. And I get quite a lot of that, and I'll chat to people about different contracts and things. And if you've got a channel like this, it does really help. That's why I don't really have to work on my portfolio. But I'm mega busy at the moment, so probably not the person to ask. A good place to search for jobs or to even offer jobs like that are going to be on the Blender forums. In fact, even on the Discord server, there's a job channel, so you can put a shout out there. And we've tried to make it so that you've got what are they called, tags? It's not a tag, is it? Oh dear, my brain is gone. That's it, I'm dead. But something associated with your name, that you are looking for contracts. Someone can tell me what that is. Anyway, really liking the tree scene on the right. So you are, that's, the tree scene there. I was thinking that's the left. I do get confused with that sort of thing. Yeah, I like the lighting that Mafa is using. Marius, isn't it? Marius, yes, Marius using. Right. If you go for a graphics tablet, what size do you recommend? Bigger is better with a graphics tablet, unless you're absolutely massive out here somewhere. But you get Cintiqs that are sort of 32-inch, I think. It helps because you can do that detail without zooming in on your image. So the bigger the better is certainly the case. Hello from Serbia, a cool cat. Can I run Blender on my 2003 PC? Best way is to just try. I can't say that for definite. Depends how good it was in 2003. Might struggle though. Good luck. Yep, someone's answering that question by saying the same thing. Just give it a go. Substance Painter on Steam is buy once. Yes, that's a good point. Thank you, Darren. You can buy it a one-off payment, and you get a sort of so you get that particular version of Substance Painter. That's the only problem with that, I suppose, is that there might be a sudden update, and you think, oh, I've got to update it now, and then you have to buy it again. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Subscription or one-off payment. I'm one of those who likes the one-off payment for some reason, but although I'm going across the subscription-based, my brain is starting to die, isn't it? Okay. That was the question. That was the one from Jibaya Hussein Haushad. I have no idea whether I've pronounced that correctly. But can I use tutorial-based project on portfolio? As an example, Blender Guru's Donut. Is that the question? That was the question. Oh, so they've asked it again. That was the question I was looking for. Thank you. That's a really great question, and something that I would say to let's give it when I'm trying to give advice about portfolios to people. I always say, do not put those sort of pieces in your portfolio. There are exceptions to that, but first of all, if you're looking for a job in the industry, people will probably recognise it because if you do, let's say, Blender Guru Donut, they will probably laugh when they see it in your portfolio. You think, oh, another donut. Everybody's doing donuts, and everybody that's their first thing they do. And they might look at you and think, well, obviously you're just a beginner because you're doing tutorials. You have to be careful of those sort of things. However, if you are just starting out and you have no portfolio and you want something in there and that's the only thing you've done, then get it done. Put it in there. And let's say someone who's asking for people to join their team and they're having some fun making a game, you can say, well, here's my portfolio. I've managed to do that donut project and Gabbitt Media's Monster Well or whatever it might be. Check it out. I should advertise myself now. But do be aware that people will recognise it if you're going for a job in the industry. So you need to have some individuality. So the further you get down the line in terms of your experience, the more you want to get rid of those projects. But have them in there to start off with if you've got nothing else. But it is much better to show your own work and adapt it slightly. Because it's a donut with a coffee, have a cupcake instead. Actually, CG Geek did a cupcake, didn't he? So, but you know what I mean. Adapt it, even whilst you're going along with the tutorial. Think, oh, can I adapt this in one way, or something like that. Arthur Herring. In fact, I recognise you from YouTube. You comment on the YouTube. Really enjoying your tutorials. Big thank you, Arthur. In fact, thank you for saying thanks. Right, where are we? Let's get another portfolio to look at. Hopefully you're all having fun. I do enjoy doing this. This is great fun. Right, let's click on my live stream. Oh man, there's loads. There's loads. I'm never going to get through all these, am I? So we've done... no, I'm not showing Frank Drebin's AT-AT dancing. It is quite clever though. Anyway, moving on. Right, so we've got one, in fact I can't even pronounce your name. Ah, there we go. Ekaterina Pavlova. Right, we'll try that. There we go. Ekaterina, is that how you pronounce your name? I recognise that from somewhere. Was that in a competition recently? But anyway, let's have a look at this. Okay, so so there's the well, which is nice. And it's working quite well. Working well. Whoa. There was lots of well dones and wells on the well tutorial that I did. But I would suggest it depends where you're going for jobs. Is Ekaterina with us? If you are, just say hello on the stream. But if you're going for jobs in the industry, people might recognise that. I suppose I'm not as famous as Blender Guru, so it's not a donut, and that's probably okay actually. But actually, there's lots of wells out there as well. In fact, I looked at a tutorial of someone else on YouTube. Looked at loads of references, and I thought, oh, that's quite a clever way of doing the base. And weirdly, I think it must have stuck in my mind because the model ended up looking a lot like theirs, and then they contacted me. Well, they gave me a copyright strike on YouTube, and I thought, no, and I looked back and I thought, actually, it does look really similar. So watch out for that. So they might get annoyed as well. I certainly won't. Luckily, the strike got taken down, and I did contact them and said, sorry, I didn't mean it to be exactly the same as yours. There are lots of wells out there, and that is a particular style. So maybe go for something a bit more individual. These ones are better, I would say, in terms of individuality. Although the model itself does look quite cool. I like this one. This is kind of interesting. This one's very symmetrical and simplistic. This is good because it shows your character. So this is, again, this is for a first glance what I'm thinking. So, and then I'm thinking, oh, what's going on here? This looks an interesting piece. I like the style here. There's an interesting individuality to your work, which is nice to see, and we need to see more of that. So I'm just seeing, is that? No, I'm just seeing if Ekaterina, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is with us on the stream or not. So thank you, Arthur. My wife is Russian, and you would say Ekaterina. Is that Ekaterina? Not that English speakers are supposed to know. Yeah, I always worry about mispronouncing people's names, especially because I'm also dyslexic, so I read things very badly. So it's awful. Just a quick, for those people asking again, Discord server is the best place to post your portfolio links. I may not get to you because it's taken me ages to get this far. We're 50 minutes in. 50 minutes I've been going, rabbiting on for, and hopefully you're still enjoying it. We've got the same amount of viewers as we start with, 120 now, sort of, so it's steady. So hopefully people are enjoying it. Although just one just left. Anyway, so Ekaterina. Back to your portfolio. So I'm going to click on this link here. Good. Yep. So you've shown a different angle, which is very interesting. Now this is based on. You see, this is it. This is based on the Sea Shack tutorial that I've done, but I didn't recognise it. And you've got the sea going on, so you follow that tutorial through, but you've made it your own, and I think that's really important. That's great. Yes, I am live right now. If people are asking on the Discord server. So following through. Now we've got a video. Let's. No, Sketchfab. Great. That Sketchfab's great. Putting your models on there, and what I like is that you've made this your own because you've given a bit of your culture in there, Russian church sort of thing, and a bit of you is coming out. I'm assuming. You are living in Russia, but it's a Russian Orthodox church, and so you've said it's inspired by tutorials. Should really mention my name, by Gabbitt Media Tutorials. Thank you very much. And an actual church that is located on a tiny island. Oh, that's quite interesting, isn't it? But yeah, no, you don't actually have to mention my name. I was joking there. This is great, good fun. That's interesting how grainy that is. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just my computer. Nope, it's very grainy. But yes, okay, so we've got that. So let's go back. Oh no, that's the previous model. Where am I? How do I get? Press escape. Yeah, I don't use ArtStation that much actually. So yes, I like that. So we talked about the well. Let's talk about the character. Okay, this is good. Again, showing different angles of the character. Very good. So in terms of and then we got the sketch, the test texture render, the prototype. The prototype. Interesting, and it looks like a double exposure of some sort. This is great. Yep. What's missing is maybe a wireframe to show the topology, but if it's just a sculpt, then maybe that's not the best thing to do because the topology will be all over the place. So don't worry too much. I'm just going to quickly see whether there's any comments about this on here. No. Okay, so. It's a half-decent model. That sounds rude, but there are issues with it. So keep practicing and then update this when you can, because in terms of character modelling, and if I was looking for a character artist, I think you're good at the faces. This is really nice, this bit here. The hands need a lot of work, and just details like the length of the neck, although that can be a stylised thing, but it just looks a little bit unusual. We've got a sort of crease going on here where the pose isn't quite weighted correctly and things like that. The hair needs a bit of work as well. Yeah, and Sculpts does a good thing about hair, I think, where you can model hair in different ways. It's quite good. And in Blender 2.82, there's an IK brush now, so you can sort these things out like hair quite well. And I think that's on Pablo's Twitter, who does all the updates for the sculpting workflow. So a few things to think about there with your modelling style, but the portfolio, the way you've set it out, I really like. And things like this I find quite interesting. Now that's good. It's very low poly. This is okay, so it's in the scene there. So putting it in the scene, interesting, and showing it that I would want to show see the wireframe and see the topology. So see the 3D model and see the wireframe as well, so I can see that this is low poly. Because it looks low poly because you've got sort of edges here. It looks hand painted as well, maybe with stencils. You could even say, but this is low poly. Yep, that pretends to be a high poly. Okay, yep. I recycle one of my old artworks and read more. Make a print. Okay. Yep. So this is good work. I would say this is your best piece of work. So maybe if you are going down any sort of particular line with your skills, that's a good focus. I just want to quickly check this one as well. Okay, because it was interesting that it showed just that bit, and this background's very interesting as well. It looks like you're an artist that's just getting into 3D, because you seem to understand how to use ArtStation and things about painting by the looks of things, but your 3D works looks immature compared to your artistic skills. So hopefully this will see improvements as we go along with this. I won't play it because there's other people's to look at as well. Nice work though, well done. Ekaterina, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but do my best, don't I? Okay, let's just quickly look at any more questions. Wait, you're doing reviews of our portfolios? Yes, this is a portfolio review, that's the thinking. Could I post my small model list? Yes, as long as we can sort of, I mean, treat me as if I was a client or maybe a recruiter. Send me a link you would send. So I'm really interested in your work and I'm thinking of employing you. Send me your portfolio. That's your response. You send me your portfolio and then I will say, I don't think it's the right format, or I don't think it's this. This is brilliant. I'll give you a job. Anyway, what is the best way to retopo? Manual retopo is still the best way, unfortunately. The quickest way is something like Instant Mesh. And in Blender 2.81, you've got the remesh option. Those are the quickest way to remodel, and they are fantastic. It makes a big difference. Retopo, yeah. Are you going to create some art today as well? No, not today. I'm just doing a portfolio review. I certainly will do some live streaming, some artwork in the future. Don't be afraid. Competitions about to learn and push. Oh, don't be afraid to enter competitions. Yep. Yeah, I think that's quite important. And thank you very much to everybody that sent me a portfolio to review, because this live stream would be nothing without you. That is really important. I want to stress that point about we're still learning. We're still figuring these things out together. I'm still learning very much. I'm not the guru. I'm not the Blender guru. The guru of portfolios. I'm sure other people. And in fact, before I came on here, I thought I better do some more research on portfolios to get my brain up to date. And I would say it was confirming what I was thinking. And there were some things I didn't agree with as well. So my phone is going crazy, which comes through on my watch. That's why I was looking at my watch. Yeah, I can't remember what my point was now. Yeah, so portfolios, and if you're a beginner, just go for it, get stuff out there. It really encourages you, and then you've got something to show, something to be proud of that you will soon not be proud of. You may not even be proud of it, but getting out there is really important. So if you've got no portfolio, that's the time I say just put things in there. And don't worry, because people will just brush past your portfolio, and you won't sort of, oh, well, he was that guy. I remember his portfolio from 5 years ago. It was rubbish. So don't worry about that sort of reaction from people. And don't worry about people saying it's rubbish. I've had very few comments actually on YouTube, but you just occasionally get them about being ugly or whatever it might be. You just got to get past those because that is a very small minority of people, and hopefully I'm making sense with that. So just go out there, do it, and I would say that most people on YouTube are absolutely fantastic, and I get lots of people saying wonderful work, and that keeps me going. It really does. I really appreciate all those comments. Nice to see you too, Spirit Absolute. Noise. I like that phrase, noise. I don't have the guts to send my portfolio. I've just done tutorials. I will start doing my own. Yeah, just go for it. Just now there are 3 dislikes on the stream. How dare those people? Those 3 dislikers. How could you do that? Maybe it's when I said I'm not doing any artwork today because people just love my artwork. That's what it is. So welcome if you're just joining us. If you are trying to post your portfolio, then it's best to do it on Discord because the YouTube doesn't allow the links, so that's the problem. Okay, let's go back to portfolios. So let's go to the next person on the list. Scrolling down, and there is someone who's calling themselves Jennifer Lawrence, but I'm not sure they are. It's Carrie Weber, hobbyist. They've got themselves down as on ArtStation. So let's have a look at your work. This one's a good one to look at, because immediately I can see some interesting pieces. So it's and there's a fair few in here as well. That's good. So So again, let's pretend I'm a recruiter and I'm looking at this portfolio and look at it. The first one I notice is this because it's the first one on the list, and then I look across and this one grabs my eye. So let's take a closer look at this. And I'm thinking, oh, now this is interesting. This person has some style. This is quite clever, their use of colour. They understand how colour works together because my eyes are kind of drawn into this piece, but they're drawn here first from this. That didn't make much sense. My eyes were initially drawn to this piece on the portfolio page. Then they're drawn into this section here because of the difference in colour and the difference in tone. So the brightest bit of the image is usually what you look at first. And it's quite interesting. This reminds me of Beeble. If you haven't looked at that, Beeble Crap, I think he's called, on Instagram. He's the person who does a piece of art each day. And it's a bit like this. Actually, I would say I prefer this, to be fair. Love this sort of style. It's just very compelling to look at. It's a little bit tricky to see what's going on, but it's quite stylized, so I like that. Let's have a look at the other pieces now. So I've looked at that, and I'm going to look at the other pieces. The next one that grabs my attention is this one, probably because of all the bright lights going on and the TVs. So this is sort of like looks like a bit of a political statement about us being addicted to television. It looks like he's worshipping lots of televisions, which is quite interesting in itself. And I like the way these pieces are put together. Okay, so we're getting an idea of how I would look at this portfolio. And to be fair, this is probably as much time as you'll get from someone looking at portfolios. They might like your style, and if they do, then they might look further. If they don't, they'll probably move on, sort of thing. Or they might put you in a pile of, oh, perhaps, list. Okay, that's probably as much time as you've got. So notice how I didn't look at any of these 3. They all look very similar. So do they all need to go in? Is the question. I'm sort of interested in this one. This one's a bit of a cliche, unfortunately. It's the classic sand dunes. I thought that was a stick at first, but men in cloaks with sticks walking on landscapes. There's a classic. There's a bit of a joke about it in the art world because that's what lots of people do when they first do a landscape art. And it always looks really nice. You have mountainous landscapes, beautiful skies, and a person with a stick looking into the distance. So just be a bit careful of that and watch out for those cliches. I suppose you'll learn them as you become more experienced. Okay, so let's just have a quick look if anybody else is saying things about these things. You're pretty handsome, hey! Just need to fix that teeth gap. I know it's dreadful, isn't it? Lots of people comment on my teeth, and it puts me off smiling sometimes, but it doesn't put me off enough. That it's a good thing that I have that gap in my teeth. Otherwise, I'd be so handsome that people just wouldn't be able to handle it. It's important character traits. I'm like an ArtStation page. It's important to have these sort of weird character traits that makes you you. Anyway, what am I talking about? The use of light is very good in this artist. Yes, the use of light is fascinating, isn't it, Darren? Yep. Let's keep going through the portfolios. Recruiter style. Yes. Okay. Thank you. I'll keep doing that. Just one other quick comment on this one. The poses is the first thing I notice. Ah, that's Rick and Morty. Okay, I didn't realise that at first. That's quite fun. Yeah, that's interesting. Exactly, I totally agree with what Darren was saying. The use of light, it's great. The use of colour as well, the colour and light. So we've got very green, and having a colour palette with your work really is helpful. But there's a real sci-fi look about this portfolio. But the poses are a bit off. So it suggests to me that you're not a character artist, but you do have some artistic skill and an artistic background. Look out for those sort of things, and maybe hide that sort of, because a Beeble crap, the person Beeble who does those pieces of art each day, I don't know where he gets his models from, but they look like sort of stock models, or maybe someone's made one of those models for him and he reuses them all the time, and he puts them into poses and you can see the models being reused. And I think that's what's going on here, maybe downloading models and put them, which is fine, you can do that. It's probably a good idea to put details about that, maybe say, and give yourself, in fact, have we got any details about you? No, I don't think we have. I don't use ArtStation a lot, so I don't know. But if it's hard for me to find the details about you, then a recruiter's probably not going to look that closely either. Okay, so my first initial reaction is that these are sort of borrowed models from other places, and your main thing is creating the landscapes. But do mention that's what you're doing, and don't sort of say that you're a character model if you aren't. Not that you are, but make it clear. That's one thing the industry really hates, and again, I'm not saying that you're doing this at all, but if people are using other people's work in their portfolios and not giving credit. Try and be clear about that. Would be good. Okay, I'll try and move a little bit faster because I think people would like me to show more portfolios and go through theirs. So this one is from Big Tricky. Oh, my mouse is going weird. What's going on? My mouse is... Windows updates. Every now and again, my mouse wants to just scroll up and down web pages, and it seems to happen with Windows updates. Okay, so this is interesting. Low poly models. So this is DeviantArt. I've heard don't use DeviantArt. I very rarely go on DeviantArt myself. I don't know much about it, but I've just heard don't use DeviantArt, and I can't remember what the reason was. So maybe look that up. The Big Tricky. It might be a good idea. 28 watches. I've had lots of. It's interesting. You get watches and views and stuff. So 168 deviations. I think that is pieces of artwork, isn't it? This is interesting. Okay, so low poly models. So I don't know my way around DeviantArt. There's gallery. Okay, gallery folders. Okay, so and we're in low poly models. Okay, so let's have a look at your low poly work. Cool. It's looking good. This is great, and I like seeing your asset packs like this. They're good fun. This, I'm thinking, okay, my initial reaction. This is good. Okay. This looks interesting. This looks better than this, I would say. This. I'm trying not to be too super harsh, but I'm trying to be a recruiter as well. So I'm looking for a low poly artist. And I'm thinking, okay, so this person has some skill with low poly art, but they don't seem to know, although I'm confused whether they know about lighting and shot construction, which could be important to me. So here, this renders really grey. So get some 3-point lighting on there, get an environment in the background. You don't have to show it, but an HDRI to light your objects, I think that would help. Oh, I'm pressing escape and that doesn't work. Back to the big trafficy. The Big Tricky. Big trafficy? I was looking at traffic, wasn't I? This one's lit much better. So it's nice and bright, and you've got a bit more of a feeling that it's a cityscape. Although the background looks very sparse with trees. Fill it with trees. Don't have these big blank spaces. And maybe a few more cars on the road. I like it looks quite cool. There's no denying it. I quite like the style. And I like the style of tree. It's cool because that's your own style, which is great. I wouldn't. In fact, is this a DeviantArt thing? Oh, it is. So they're watermarked by DeviantArt, and that's it's sort of thing about whether you should watermark your work or not because you're worried about people stealing it. I wouldn't. I just wouldn't worry about it. If your art's being stolen, you're doing well, and your portfolio is getting out there. If it's being stolen by people and people are saying, "Look, this is my work," they'll get in trouble for it because you'll be recognisable. So don't worry about watermarking your work. Watermarks, by the way, if you don't know, are these sort of, you might not be able to see it on the screen, you probably can actually, it's this sort of faint highlight that stops people using your work. I suppose it's a bit more tricky if you're selling a piece of artwork, then maybe you just want to show a small version of it. It does get a bit more tricky at that point, but generally speaking, it's seen as a bit of a no-no in the industry. A no-no, hopefully that makes sense, a don't do it thing. Okay, so let's just have a look at some of the messages. He is keeping it to stay pro. Who's the my gap in my teeth. Oh yeah, teeth gap is beautiful. You can put a cigarette in there. Oh no, everybody's talking about my teeth. Oh. You're damn right, Grant. You sexy man. Like that, Simon. Thank you very much. What's this? I had such gap too, €40, and now only my face is ugly, but my teeth are nice. €40? You managed to fix your gap for €40. I wonder what... that is cheap. I'm sure it would cost a lot more to fix my gap, and I don't want it fixed anyway. I do like me as me. I don't like to change things. Who knows, in the future I might change my mind, and then you'll see a really young version of Grant, and I'll have had loads of plastic surgery or something, who knows. Okay, so any more comments? Oh, we're up to 200. Lots of people viewing now. Nice to see you all. Do comment of what you think and whether you agree with me about the piece of artwork, the portfolios that I'm looking at, and you can ask a few questions as well. Hopefully I'm getting them all, doing you justice as well. What if to place watermark inside the scene? I think that's lost in translation. I'm not sure I understand completely what you're asking there. Madonna also has a tooth gap. Well, there we go. It's the best of us do, you know. I mean, draw it somewhere. Oh, I see. So in your scene, let a poster with Gabbitt Media sort of thing in my scene to say it's mine. They're quite cool actually. I quite like those sort of things. And signing your work at the bottom, that's all cool as well. But watermarks in the front of things is probably not a good idea, I would say. Okay, just got a message on my phone and it's a bit of an emergency, but I'm going to keep going anyway. Never mind. Right, so next portfolio piece. Oh wait, this is interesting. I'm just going to quickly back to so that's low poly work. Now this is interesting because you've got lots of deviations on here, and that's strange because this scene looks quite interesting, but it's not in your portfolio, so I'm assuming this is from your work. I suppose this is one thing, I can't tell much about you on DeviantArt, whereas ArtStation gives you a little profile at the side, so I can quickly find something out about you, which may be like where you live, and if you're local, I think that would be quite important to some people when they're recruiting. Okay, so let's see, let's scroll down a bit more. So that's Big Tricky as well. I think we've got twice on here. So we've got a DeviantArt link for you, Big Tricky, and an ArtStation. So I'm gonna so thank you for posting both, but I'll just show this one of yours if that's all right. So we've now got Aaron Burnhope, who's classed as a student. Ah, I love floating islands. Okay, interesting photo. It's good fun. It's weird. Why am I looking at the photo? I look at a piece of art and then the photo. That's judgmental, isn't it? If I was a recruiter, I'm thinking, well, what do they look like? Weirdly, that might be important. I don't know. Take from that what you will. Aaron, you're from the UK. Good to see. Why is that important? Okay, so interesting. This is interesting. So my eyes are drawn. First, I always go here because it's like you're reading it, and it's the first thing you're supposed to see. It's like is that their best work? That's what I'm thinking to myself. So, and I wouldn't say it is. I'd say actually that's one of the weaker pieces in a sense, because unless you were going for a texture artist job, then it's the strongest. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. But as a portfolio overall, it depends. And that's, I suppose, I'm confused. What do you specialise in? So we need a bit more information, I suppose. Let's click on one of these and get some information, because we've got 2D art, which looks interesting and fun. Then we've got 3D art. Then we've got a bit of a mixture. Then we've got some concept art, which again, this is good if you want to maybe join a team that's very new, or just breaking into the industry, but with a bit more experience, you'll want to decide on what it is you want to show people. But let's click on one of these and find out some more. I like this piece here. This is a nice piece of art, and it shows you've got an artistic background. It's pretty cool, isn't it? Let's scroll down a bit. Oh, so we've got some sketches here. These are not as good. No offence. These are not as good as this. This looks cool. Leave just this in, and take these out. They are actually. You're still a good artist. They're fine, but this is suddenly I'm thinking. So that's his level, and this is a bit of luck. So watch out for that, because this is a nice model, and it looks just interesting, compelling to look at, and weird and wacky. I like the use of the sort of guiding lines with the brown, and then you sort of inked over. Not so much the basket, but it's pretty cool. Okay, so back to some of the other pieces. This gun looks cool. But be careful of guns in portfolios, unless you're going and you want to be a gun artist. That's not the right word. Weapons artist. Because loads of people will have guns. Also, your texturing is okay. It's a good, okay level, but it's not a great level. Your modeling's good, but your texturing, these are sort of very procedural looking. They look fine, and it shows you understand how to use textures, but we need to take it to the next stage, which is using Substance Painter. Look at Zacharias' course, or CG Boost's course. Links in the description. Commission if you, blah blah. But using the pointiness node and maybe putting a bit of wear and tear on the corners and edges, that will take you to the next level. I like the lighting; it's kind of interesting and fun, but it's very grainy. So high quality renders. Get the denoising on there. This may be a bit old. Posted a month ago. My first attempt at making a gun from a real life reference. That's tricky as well. With your descriptions, be careful, because I'm thinking, first attempt making a gun. That's not bad for a first attempt. That's good, but is this guy a beginner? That's then the question I'm asking. So he hasn't done many guns then. So maybe I won't get him as my special weapons artist, because this could just be a fluke. So can you see where I'm going with that? Because in some ways you want to say, this is actually my first attempt, so that's how cool I am, because I can do this first try. Sort of thing. One might argue. Hopefully I'm not being silly. But can you see what might be inferred from that? Hopefully that's making sense. Some more weapons. I like the concept art. It's quite cool. Just having a quick brush through this is quite cool. Interesting setup. I'm getting this sort of student vibes, and this seems a bit studenty. It's what I see when people are showing me their portfolio when they're coming for interview for a place on my course. So they're showing me, look, I can do pre-production work. So they're going from the original. So it is kind of cool. It's working, but it feels very studenty rather than professional. Professionals are more, here's my concept art and here's my final piece, and you don't really need to show your references, which this is kind of the reference in a sense, isn't it? Hopefully that makes sense. So you don't need to so much show your reference, unless that's a tricky one actually. I wouldn't say show your reference, personally. People might argue with me. Maybe someone's arguing. Let's have a look. Greetings from Spain. Hello from Spain. Portfolio links on the Discord server ideally, but you can try and put them in here if you want. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think this is the time to be requesting tips from Grant. Yeah, that's fine, but I'd probably just gloss past them if that's all right. What do you think of grass essentials, and could you do a tutorial in 2.81? Well, I've just done a tutorial about grass, and it just looked way better than grass essentials. Now, grass essentials is great, but I haven't got a copy because I tend to spend no money at all. Hence why I can struggle along being a YouTuber. So anyway, I've gone off on one. Back to portfolios. Yeah, I'm trying to focus on portfolios, you see. So yeah, now we're seeing some 2D work. Is this? Yeah. Oh, this is sort of a background. It looks interesting. I won't show the videos because it'll take a bit too long. I like your work. It's good fun. It does, again, it still has that sort of student vibe. I feel like there's that next step before you go into industry, which is probably sort of degree level. But it's good fun ideas, loving it. And if you don't want to go off to university, or maybe you're at university and you're sort of in the first few terms, what's it called, semesters, then maybe join a little team of game makers or whatever you want to go into and start making some fun games. Hopefully that makes sense. So can you see the vibes I'm getting from this portfolio? And that's making my opinion of you in terms of what I'm recruiting. Okay, hopefully I'm making sense. This is good stuff. I like the fact that you've got 2D skills and 3D skills. And all this is Substance Painter, is it? Is this Substance Painter? Substance Designer, what's it called? They've got different names, haven't they? They're different things. Oh, Substance Designer, there we go. I want to work with contrasting heights in a material, and I think it came out nicely. Yeah, now the way you're selling yourself is, again, studenty. I wanted to work with contrasting heights in a material. Yeah, you're kind of explaining your workflow, which you kind of have to do for art exams. You need to move on to the next level and just say what your work is for and talk specifically about the models. It's like saying I use Substance Designer is great, and that you understand the workflow and that you've got artistic skills, but you don't say what I wanted to do or what I'm trying to achieve here is. Let them decide whether you've achieved that or not. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Let's see if there's any more questions or anything in here first. Oh, we've got 250 viewers. Thanks to everybody. That's delightful. That's the most I've ever had. This is my third time, so but that's quite exciting. I don't have Discord, so please, Superlight, can you please critique my portfolio? I'm doing it first come first serve, and I think I can probably follow that link, so we're okay. I think keep saying errors. Hopefully the stream's working okay. Is everybody happy? Let me know. Post it in the chat then. Yeah, just post it in the chat, that's fine. That's my first time being here during a stream. Hello, the R&B. Right, let's scroll down on Discord. I'm going through the Discord ones because they're much easier for me to get to. Okay, Thomas Potter Designs. Let's have a look at this. Okay, so I'm just keeping an eye on the time. Oh, whoa, it's been almost an hour and a half. I said to myself, probably an hour stream tonight. We can fit that in, because I've got to go and pick my wife up from the station in a second. Hopefully her text will come through. Yeah, and then I might have to suddenly run. Oh, I'm getting oh dear, loads of things I've got to deal with. But I'm having too much fun. Thank you everybody for being here and having fun with me and sharing my journey into live streaming. It's very exciting, and it's great to see 256 people are watching. I must be slightly narcissistic. I think maybe everybody likes this, don't they? They like being watched. Is that right? Like being needed, I think, and we all have that about us, especially as artists. I think actually we want people to see our art, and that's really important. That our art. I don't know. I'm going off on some weird psychology thing again, aren't I? So let's not do that. Awesome job, Grant. Thank you. First stream was a test stream. That's true. It ended up being a proper stream, though, didn't it? What's the Discord? It's in the description. The link's in the description. You can go along to that. Sign up. It's quite a good little community, that, and you can join in the competitions there. JB Blender, he calls himself, does a sort of weekly competition. I do a sort of monthly competition, and you can get some tips and just chat to people. Like Frank is on there. He's our resident comedian. He's probably he has a young child. That sounds weird. But so he can't get to the stream very easily. Sometimes he can get on, sometimes he can't. but he's strapped for time. But every now and again he sort of pops up and makes a funny comment. Anyway, join the Discord channel. Great people here. Oh, there. Yeah, indeed. I quite agree. My biggest... yeah, that's a good question. Bascavidus, if that's how you pronounce it. My biggest dedication is low poly, so my biggest discipline. Tips to generate more realistic effect without adding excess geometry. I struggle with that. With low poly, that's the real skill of low poly, is trying to, in fact, is this, because where you can look at Thomas Potter's work, for example, in this, in that field. And in fact, let's look, because immediately I'm drawn to this model here because it's a good model. I quite like, my eyes are drawn to the fox, and this because it's the start, but I'm looking, quick scan across, this is the best model. So why is this the best model? Because they've captured the essence of the character in a low poly way. So well done, Thomas. Sorry, abbreviating it to Tom, which is uncalled for. So here's a low poly barbarian I made. Just trying some stuff out, more low poly characters, made in Blender 2.8 and rendered in Eevee. Want to hire me? I like that. That's not a bad idea. Saying I'm available for hire in your portfolio. That's because you might be busy. I can't hire you. So I know now you're available for hire and you're good at low poly work. But let's talk about low poly a bit first. So capturing the essence in as lower polys as possible. Excuse me, indigestion, talking too much. And you've really got that style down. You've got sort of a blonde-haired Viking with hardly any clothes on because he's tough, and he's got the curve to the axe. That means you've got some understanding of how these things work. Loads of people do just a straight blocky axe, but the curve is important. It curves give something, it's the life in an object, it's the organic nature of this piece of wood, and it's got a history. Just by adding that curve, that's great. Good angle, but the axe head is lost in the armour, I think this is, or something, or maybe just sort of kilt-y type thing. So watch out for that. So I would have loved to seen a few more angles. I'm not sure about this because it's the same angle and it's just words over it. I'd get rid of that. I'd do more angles, brighten it up a little bit, but that's too bright. That's overexposed in these areas. A bit too glary. This is good, but I'd like to see a wireframe. That's good as well. But they're all the same angle. We need more angles here. Now this, so we talked a bit about low poly there. Hopefully that's answered a few questions about how do I get that complexity. And it's not about adding complexity with low poly. It's capturing the detail with as little complexity as possible. Which that's like how do I become an artist in a sense, isn't it? But anyway, so let's stick with Thomas's designs, and I can see that Thomas is quite a young man from South Africa, so I'm very impressed because that looks very skillful, but that is by far the best piece, and the others I think bring your portfolio down a bit. So we've got these two which are the same model, one's high and one's low, so this almost seems like a texturing exercise. You've got some real pose going on with this model here, but then this is very flat, so we've got sort of the low poly animal here. Pose the model. The pug's quite cool. I quite like that. Let's click on the pug. That's a bit better. This is an interesting little story going on here, but the lighting is very poor. So I wasn't drawn to this because it's very grey and it almost blends in with the background of the rest of your portfolio. So sort out the lighting a little bit brighter basically. And maybe some eyes. It's very tough with low poly. Do you put eyes in? Do you put eyes? Tough one. Maybe a bit. Don't know. It's not quite working for me, and it's difficult without really concentrating on it for a while to figure out what that is. I like the little scene though. That's a good idea. Okay, so if this were me and this were my portfolio, it's tough because you kind of want a couple of pieces in there. Maybe this one and this one. This is good because you can see that you can do characters, but we need a pose there. It's actually a good character, but definitely need some sort of pose because that sort of pose, if you can see me doing this, I'm doing that pose, it doesn't say anything about the character. It's sort of a bit weird, in fact. But maybe a sexy pose because it's a sexy secretary or something. So, I don't know why I went all sexual there. Or maybe holding a gun pose and put a gun in its hand, or it's an agent or something. A bit more of a story to the pose, and then we're getting somewhere, I think. Okay, so this one's quite interesting. Let's just quickly look at this one. I think this one is actually maybe better than the other one, but the angle wasn't helping it, maybe a bit, and the pose isn't helping it. So, so my final thoughts, if this was my portfolio, pose, and this character, and I would get rid of the rest, or maybe pose this one as well. Hopefully that makes sense, because although they're okay pieces, they're not great pieces compared to these ones. Okay, and then it looks like you're actually a character models, low poly character model specialist, and the animal in there, if you can pose it correctly, will give you that extra edge as well, and hopefully you'll get loads of work. So well done, Thomas. Right, so let's have a look at the chat again. Would you recommend the skin modifier? I've seen something of yours created by this method. Yeah, I use it for trees and I use it for base meshes, but generally it creates bad topology once you apply it, and you kind of have to apply it if you want to do anything else. So a skin modifier to start in sculpts, and then using the remesh option, and then doing a sculpt from there. I love you. Now this stream will become fast. Not sure quite what I mean. I lose a bit in translation. Oh, 300 people watching. Why are all these people watching? What are you? Haven't you got something better to do? This is great. Thank you very much for all watching. That's wonderful. And yet keeps the mirror of we need more weird stuff that we could use. Did I say that? Is that a quote from me? I'm confused as some of these questions. I think maybe people are sort of having a bit of a chat, and I've caught it halfway. Grant, need a portfolio covering my 3D art, 3D prints, and game design, among other things. Better a website, an Instagram, or an ArtStation page. Should I include other art forms? I'm a blacksmith. Nero Smith. That's an interesting question. What am I saying? I've got a photographer colleague, and he's an award-winning photographer colleague, Alistair Bartlett, his name is. And we discuss this sometimes, because he did wedding photography, but it wasn't his main thing. He loved this other sort of photography, and we were discussing a little while ago, should you have two portfolios even? One for weddings and one for your personal stuff, where you want to maybe be hired by magazines or sell your prints and things. And in that case, I think that would be a good argument for that. It's tricky, isn't it? Because in one way, you might want to say that you're a blacksmith, because that would show you've got a good understanding of structure and 3D in real life. And that might be useful to people, and you want to sell that aspect of you. But maybe your portfolios could have links to the other portfolios that have that. It's a really tricky one. I'm still undecided on whether people should completely specialise, or whether they should leave lots of different things in their portfolio. The most important thing is the quality, though. If one of your mediums, let's say you really like it, you're a really great blacksmith, in fact, no, you really love doing blacksmith work, but it's not great work, then you shouldn't include it. Do you see what I mean? But if you are a blacksmith, and let's say you've got some cool models of, I don't know, whatever it is, and then you've suddenly got some blacksmith stuff there, it might look a bit weird, but if it's really cool, then people will think, oh, and he's a blacksmith, wow, this guy's talented. And that, do you see what I mean? It's different then, isn't it? So if it's all really cool, then you can't really go wrong, in a sense. But if one of your specialisms sort of knocks you down a bit, you are judged on your worst piece. It's like a bridge being only as strong as its weakest point, as they say. Okay, so scrolling down a bit. Any more questions? There's a few Blender questions specifically. I won't go into those if you don't mind. Is it possible to become a professional 3D artist without going to school for 3D? Yes, it is. I am a professional 3D artist. I earn money from it. And I didn't go to 3D school. I did a media studies degree. And I think there are other people like me. I think it doesn't hurt. And I think you may be a better artist for it. But if you can get into the industry first, you're better off. I always use the example of a student I had Alfie Vaughan. He's got his own YouTube channel. You should check him out. And he went straight from our course, which is, I know you could argue that's a game design course and stuff, but he went straight from there, sixth form level, into the industry as an apprentice. But he was up against 500 other applicants, so that's the competition you get for that apprenticeship spaces. But he's now full-time working at the Mill in London that do special effects, and they do absolutely, that's where you want to work basically. And he worked for the Harry Potter game or something, some cool stuff basically, and Fatboy Slim's music video, and I'm a bit jealous, to be honest, Alfie. I'm jealous of you if you ever watch this. It's good stuff, and it's nice to see those success stories without going to 3D art school. Anyway, right, let's have another look at another portfolio. God dear, how am I doing? I'm just checking that I haven't got to pick my wife up from the station. I'm going to get in trouble. I'm having too much fun. She'll forgive me. Where are we? Right, I feel like I've covered these ones. What's happening here? Alright, this one is from Florin. I cannot pronounce your last name, I do apologise. Games technology student from Coventry in the United Kingdom. This is quite fun, isn't it? Okay, so quick glance across. Again, I can't help but look at that first one. That's a cool angle, so it draws my eye a bit, but these are more colourful, so I'm drawn into these areas here. I'll just put the stream back up again. CG Matter, love me, Grant. Not sure. Oh, oh, someone's donated. It's wonderful. Thank you very much to Darren Munsell, who I mentioned earlier, I think, didn't I? Can we send you new tablets for you to give away for your channel and students? Better send to you than to try and resell something I'm not going to use. That's an interesting idea. Sort of use tablets to give away to my students. Yes, please do. I'll have a think about that, and maybe we can discuss it in the future. That's great. Thank you very much for your donation as well. Thank you. This is great fun. Even more fun when I get some donations. Sorry, I'm very mercenary. I'm going to stop it. Anyway, do click on the links in the description as well. Right, so let's get back to this portfolio. Thank you very much again, Darren. And yeah, thank you for the offer for the graphics tablets. I keep thinking actually for the competition, sorry I'm going off sidetrack, but it would be quite good, wouldn't it, to have some prizes. The only thing is I meant, because there's loads of people from all over the globe, so I imagine I'm going to get killed when it comes to the postage, and I haven't figured out a way. If I'm sending a graphics tablet, it's probably going to cost about 50 quid to send it to all these different places, and I can't quite afford that at the moment. But you know, so 300 viewers and these donations, I'm getting there, so it's going to happen. There's going to be amazing prizes now. Watch this space, we shall see. Anyway, thank you very much again, Darren. But back to the portfolios, that's what we're here for. Okay, so the issue I have here then is, where are my eyes going? And there's some cool stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff as well, and there's a real mixture of abilities. And the first thing, so I can't help but look at who you are. So there's a nice picture of it, which is quite good, and it's kind of weird on a big ginormous chair. Hopefully you're not really small, and I'm not haven't said something rude there. I'm sure you're not. So initially I'm seeing some great work in here. This looks cool. This looks cool. This looks very basic compared to the other ones. This looks basic compared to the other ones. This environment seems a bit basic in the background here and very sparse in the foreground here. This looks very sparse on this side. This looks quite cool in terms of hand painted, but I'd like to get a bit closer in about here. Can you see where I'm going with this, hopefully? This is interesting. Let's click on that one. This is interesting because there's some cool little details going on, but it's very blocky here, so it's a bit low poly. I understand you're a games artist, but the bump is extreme here, and the glare I'm getting from the gun is quite odd and unusual. Then we haven't got enough light showing the what's it called? The thing that you cock. What is that? The name of this thing. And yeah, the trigger's all blocky. So I like it. Initially I thought, oh, this purple design is cool, and then purple against the greens, it sort of stands out nicely, doesn't it? But lets it down, the texturing and the bump is letting it down slightly. Being hypercritical again, I hope that's okay. This looks interesting. Let's have a quick look at this. Okay, so it looked interesting to start with. I like the design, but it's sitting in this dreadful, if you don't mind me saying, because I think that you've got some skill. So it's good to hear these things, isn't it? It looks like you've done the texture here, and it looks great, but it's overexposed here, and there's no need for bloom, and we've got a white, really low poly pedestal which isn't working at all, and it's detracting from the model, which looks quite cool, especially in this picture. This looks very basic compared to your other pieces, so take that out, because you've got some great stuff. Look at this. Look at this. You've got this great work here, but that's quite interesting as well. And I'm focusing on the bad stuff. Do you see what I'm saying? You're only as good as your weakest piece in your portfolio. So slim down your portfolio. It does not need to be this big. Let's have a look at this piece. Now this is a cool little landscape, and it looks good at first glance, but when I go in closely I'm thinking, oh, this person doesn't understand grass, because that's not the best way or efficient way. It doesn't look particularly good as grass, and it's not the most efficient way as a game artist to make grass. So I'm thinking, oh no, do they really know how to model an environment in a game's setting? Because actually it's kind of a cool piece, but can you see, as a recruiter, those are the things I'm worried about, and are they really going to be able to cope with the difficult job that I'm going to give them, and part with my cash, which is scary. Okay, so if this was my portfolio, this piece looks pretty good, although that tap is monstrously big. But it's still, it's a nice piece, okay, and we're going to go with that. I feel like the sink does need remodeling though, but it's an okay piece apart from that. This looks pretty cool. I love the angle. I love the light up here at the top of the building. I don't know, it just adds that interest, and this picture here is really interesting. Nice work. So well done there. Definitely keep that piece in. Let's have a look at this one. Textures are very bumpy, but it's got a cool style. The wheels don't match the model itself though, because you've got this sort of bumpy, grungy look here, and then a really clean rubber there. But I kind of like the style, so a maybe on that one. And sometimes with maybes in portfolios, you get rid of them. This is showing a different skill, so that's good, but the texture on the is clearly tiled. So you probably painted this texture. Hand painting, yeah. Oh, it's a good idea to say how long it took you. Actually, that's a good point, because then if people are paying by the hour, that's a very good point, Florin. Is Florin here? Oh, thank you to Voirel, I think. Petku, thank you for your working time. The coffee and tea for when you pick up your wife is on me today. It's going to be angry with me, I'm sure. This is very kind of you. I can't believe that people are generous like that. It's fantastic. That's why I'm always stunned when someone offers me something. Thank you very much for that. So yeah, so I can understand why you're wanting to do. You want to put this model. Just checking that I'm not going to pick by my wife. Wanting to put this model on the floor here, because you painted this beautiful floor. It looks really good. You've got some skills with the hand painting. But then they're going to say, but can he tile textures? Does he know how to do that? I'm a bit worried. I'm not sure we can employ him, even though he's really good. So this one is worth spending more time on and getting right. So we've got a floor that is not just obviously tiled like this. Yeah, so get it, work on this one, definitely. It looks good. It looks good. You've got some skill. And yeah, so those are the ones I'd keep in. That one, possibly this one, and this one. And it's showing enough of different skills there, because you've got the architectural visualization, you've got your sort of style and understanding of 3D modeling, and then you've got your hand-painted textures, if that's the route you want to go down. But the other ones I don't think offer much. This one, actually, this one is kind of cool. Try not to repeat too many things. Change the colour if you're going to do that. this ambulance quite cool, this is quite cool, but I can see why you needed to because you haven't got enough detail here. And this is unimportant. In fact, you cut off the edge there. It's minor things like that that are actually quite important when people are viewing your portfolio. I would cut the whole picture off about there and maybe even here, so you can't really see that car, and then paint that a different colour, is my thinking. I'm starting to rush. Oh wow, Curtis, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. It's nice that you. Thank you for being on as well. Curtis is well, you must have heard of Curtis Holt YouTube channel. Absolutely fantastic stuff. And I was looking at, what was it recently you posted about how I made the mech add-on thing. Just look at Curtis's channel. I should at least say that, shouldn't I? For a £50 donation, that is exceptional. Thank you very much. That's really, really kind of you. But yeah, have a look at Curtis's channel because he's done some fantastic stuff. I'm trying to think. Yeah, but anyway, look at Curtis's channel. I'm a bit stunned, as you can tell. I'm a bit speechless by people donating. It's still really surprising. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And he says, thanks for all the encouragement. You deserve it. You've got some great stuff. Really, definitely worth checking out his channel. Hi Curtis Holt, love you too. So there's other, you see, it's not just me. Great shoots yourself, Curtis Holt. There we go. That's very nice of you, very nice. Let's have a look at some more portfolios. How are we doing for time? Oh dear, I'm getting on for 2 hours. That is crazy, isn't it? It's having so much fun doing this. It's crazy, isn't it? Right, where are we? So we've got Larry here. No, I recognise your icon from somewhere, maybe on the stream or something, on the Discord server. I'm just having a quick check and making sure my things are working still. Yeah, let's have. I suppose I should look at the questions first before moving on to the next one. But we're up to Vavrenik Fultan. Yeah, I suppose is it? I think you've put some stuff in for the competition and stuff, haven't you? Before, I feel like I know you. Yes. So about blended scripting. Yes, indeed. Sorry, that's what I should have said. Thank you, Soul Skinner. This is why it's helpful to do a live stream actually, because I can then comment and people can fill in the gaps that are in my head. That's why I actually quite like it when I'm in a classroom, because the students are there and they're sort of talking back at me, and that's why I'm liking this live streaming as well, because people are kind of talking back, although it's not quite instant. There's a bit of a lag, but it's good fun. There we go. Vavrenik Fultan. It's nice that you join us, and we'll talk through your portfolio in a second. It may have to be the last one. I'm a little bit worried that I'm gonna be in trouble. I suppose I'll get a text, so we'll see. I'll go then, and then we'll just suddenly have to stop it. Right, so I've seen you making tutorials aimed at models for games. Have you ever developed one of your own, or always worked in a team? I've usually worked for someone, and I haven't made my own game. I really would like to. I would like to make a Witcher-style game, but a bit more sort of low end, because I like the story and the fun sort of. I'm going off on one. It's supposed to be about portfolios. That's what I like to do. But yeah, I'm always working for someone or doing YouTube videos, it seems. Now we just need to get Lance Fan here. And he's our favourite YouTuber. Oh, Lance Fan, actually I do know, but I can't quite remember. Yes. I look at a lot of YouTube videos to learn from, and learn from how I need to improve and so forth. I still learn myself. And I certainly have heard of that person. I think they've released some stuff recently, well, haven't they? Looks similar. Yeah, do comment as well on other people's portfolios. I think that would be nice to get some feedback for these people as well. It's not just from me. And whether you agree with me or not as well, that would be helpful. It's really awesome, the passion that you have for sharing your artistic eye and skill set. Nobody wants BS feedback. Little Wolf, thank you. And what you could do a Discord VC in one of your streams. Sorry, that didn't quite make sense. And I'm not sure quite what you mean. Oh hey, Vavrenik is from Venice. Me too. Now that was unexpected. So the Rand B, so you can get together in a Venice meetup. Oh, no, hang on. No, Vienna, Austria. Sorry, Vienna. I've read that wrong. That's my dyslexia. I must be getting tired, and it goes when I'm like that. So I read Venice and then Vienna, and I'm thinking, oh, what's going on here? Vienna. Anyway, so Lance is the amazing node guy. Oh, right, okay. So he does lots of node stuff. Can't remember now. Oh, yes, no, I am remembering. I can only get halfway through the tutorials, and I think I'm lost now. They are. I really want to sort of break them down and go through it whilst they're going through. I think that's the same YouTube person I'm thinking of. They are pretty cool. Definitely worth a look if you're wanting to get into. Because there was the whole November thing recently, and I really wanted to do that, but I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I look at some of the pieces and I'm thinking, whoa, man, I would have looked really stupid compared to that. That's something I really need to move on next. Is nodes and understanding nodes. Anyway. Greetings from Germany. Hello, Android Gaming. I'm Sentry, by the way. Johannes. Hello, Sentry. Anyway, let's go to Vavrenik. Vavrenik, Foltan. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. You can tell me, because you're on there. Okay, so let's have a quick look through. So, I'm doing the same thing. I'm an employer, and I'm looking for a new person. I recognise some of these from the Discord server, actually. I think it's this one I recognise. And that is a good piece. Am I right in saying that was on the Discord server? Vavrenik? Hey Grant. Being awesome. Yeah, no tutorial. People are sort of catching up with me. Anyway, so... Yeah, that looks good. That looks really good. And it's your strongest piece. And some of the other pieces, I think, bring it down in terms of level. This looks quite interesting. It's close to being quite good, but I feel like it needs a bit of work. It looks like, is this a sculpt? Actually, I don't know. It looks sculpty, but it needs more depth in here, and you need to then think about your texturing. In fact, I did a similar thing for Sculpt January, and it might be worth looking at that video. I think it was in 2018 now. Where I did a sort of Chesterfield, and I used stencil painting. So much like the recent tutorial I did about painting a post, a wooden post and rocks. Use a stencil painting technique on this perhaps, and you'll get some good results, I think. But at the moment, this sort of blanket material over the whole thing looks very uniform, and therefore hasn't got life and character. But this could be a good piece, because it's sculpted and it looks quite nice. The cushions are a bit too thick there as well. So I would work on this one, and I would keep this one in. The chest, let's have a look at this. This is good. Actually, this is really nice. But you know what put me off? Was that green background. For some reason, I didn't look at it, and I was looking at some of the other things. So why a green background is my question to you. Because can you see the green reflections that's coming off here? And I feel like it's sort of clashing with the greyness of the chest, which looks fine. The metal's good, the wood's good. It's lacking a little bit of character. I feel like it just needs a bit more distorted shape, because it's very symmetrical, yet it's really worn. So you want a bit of a bashed in look, I think. But yeah, take away the green. That's useful way of displaying your models, and that's useful as well. That's good. But yeah, can we distort your chest a bit more in areas and maybe bend some of these different things? That's a good idea as well, showing the makeup like that. I would be concerned. What sort of work are you looking for? Is something, so I'm looking for someone to work on my game models. And then I'm thinking, now this hasn't been converted to low poly. It needs to be. So we've got very high poly in here. Let's see if we can, yeah, so in here, it's high poly. High poly needs to be these sort of bumps and rivets, bumps and dents and things need to be with a normal map, ideally. So that's the next stage in terms of your development as an artist. I'm just having a look whether people are agreeing with me and stuff. What is it with these backgrounds? Yeah, I suppose, yeah, so it is very important when you're thinking about the background for your pieces. You've got this great model, which you have, it's a good chest, that is, so look at the best way to display your models. Maybe a little pedestal. The lighting looks half decent actually, so it just looks a bit odd on that green coloured base. In fact, a mid-grey is probably, if you don't want to draw any attention to something, a mid-grey is the best way, and just sit it on a mid-grey base. That'll be fine. And when I say mid-grey, you've got your tone slider. That's right in the middle. That's why I say mid-grey. So I'd have that model, smarten this one up, and that's what I'd say about what I want in my portfolio and what I want to see. Because some of your, they're good, and I think you probably spent a fair bit of time, Sculpt January. So it's good, but it's not a good enough standard ready for employment in this particular industry, this field, if you see what I mean. So in your portfolio, I'd wait until you've had a bit more practice with these things. And doing Sculpt January, it's coming up actually, I suppose, isn't it? I haven't heard much about it though, actually. So we're only a few days away from January, really. So I'm sure it's going to pop up pretty soon. So this is interesting. I feel like I recognise it as well. Was that on the Discord server? But it lacks in the bump map. It's all very uniform again. So watch out for that. It has got a bit of character though, and the background's a bit better. But then weirdly, this is a cartoon character, and we've gone for a photorealistic background, whereas this is sort of photorealistic chest, and that, you want to swap these two round in terms of backgrounds, I think, and that might work. These characters are looking kind of cool. Maybe a little bit of work on this one in the textures, and you could use this one. Yep. So slim down your portfolio a bit, and take out... Hang on, let's have a quick look at this. These are quite good, actually. But the floor looks doesn't look like they fit, if that makes sense, and the brick wall as well. So if you put these in a better environment, you could probably use these as well. Okay, so hopefully that's given you a few pointers there as well. Oh, we've got some Sculpt January and things up there as well. Oh, so there's more. Yeah, so there's more to it. Okay, anyway, let's have a quick another look at and see what other people are saying. Right, so... yeah, so I like your tone of voice and your English accent. Thank you very much. Hello, world. I think I'm very lucky because I'm from the south of England, and that's the sort of classic BBC accent. So it's very trusted, apparently. This sort of accent that I've got. I do actually slightly work on it because I want my voice to be understood by as many people as possible. So I used to drop my T's a lot, and I try and make sure I get them in, but I don't always. But yeah, so thank you very much for that. Hi Grant, hello. The giant baby. Yes, the giant baby. What is going on with that giant baby? Do you know, this is kind of weird and wacky and wonderful. And maybe, if that's the sort of route you want to go down, then that's actually something you want in your portfolio. But you can actually smarten it up a bit more. This is a bit Beeble crap. It's weird why he keeps coming up in my head recently. And he does things like this. So, but this sort of different way of looking at it. So maybe, but if you want to go that style, then everything has to be that style in a sense, and we can't have so much of the treasure chest and the realistic thing majiggy here. Anyway. Oh my god, not the T, don't drop the T. Oh my god, the T, don't drop the T. Oh, drop the T, sorry. That's quite hilarious actually. If I'd got the joke, and it would have been more, yeah, anyway. The T, don't drop the T's, but it's written T as in a cup of tea, as in English cup of tea. Anyway. How long does it take to master Blender? It's been spammed on here by Flex. It depends on who you are, whether you've got an artistic background, whether you're quick at picking things up, how dedicated and motivated you are. All those things matter a lot. And Akinaro has got the right thing here. 1 hour max. There we go. I love those sort of comments. Like any other program, it will depend. So they're all answering your question for you, so you can have a look at that. Stop spamming or you will be banned, the Super Elite says. I love streams for that. It's just great fun, isn't it? You're awesome, sir. Like your tutorials, and please keep on going. In future, if possible, I would like to see you doing some advanced character modeling, face topology, and intermediate character rigging. Yeah, character rigging is tough, and I always get asked the same questions about my rig doesn't work, can you help me? And it's a nightmare. it's really hard, and there's so many problems you get with it. I suppose I'm not advanced with that either, so I can't offer a lot there. And what I've got, I've sort of already given in a sense, but I can update it for 2.8. And there are lots of character courses, a few character courses on my channel that you can look at, and there's a whole sort of face modelling thing. Although the interface for 2.8 is advanced, the methods are very similar. But I will do another one soon because I did enjoy doing that, and I think it's beneficial to a lot of people. Can you make a vid about ways to make character body not penetrate to the cloth? Yeah, I have to look that up myself actually. So lots of people commenting on the baby. There is certain art style you recommend to have a better chance of getting a job, realistic, cartoon-like, for mobile games. Oh, I see. Cartoon-like for mobile games is what. Sorry, I didn't read that right. Yeah, so that's tricky. It's developing all the time. So any advice I give now is going to change in even a year's time, because of computers advancing so fast. AI, as they say, is going to kill us all or whatever. But that is making a big impact in our industry. So we were talking about this on the other stream just the other day. Will we have a job? There's was it NVIDIA who came out and 3D models from 2D images, as in a single 2D image, and it was able to extract a 3D model from it. So how long are we going to last? So it's a really, really hard question to answer. Yeah, in terms of the industry, at the moment there seems to be a shortage, apparently, of riggers, as we were just talking about rigging, and a bit of a glut when it comes to sculptors in terms of sort of character modelers. Yeah. So in fact, general 3D modelers. I suppose that's what people do when they first get a 3D model program. They make a 3D model, and then they sort of stick with that. And rigging, like, oh no, I don't want to give that a go. So that's so classic, isn't it? That it's one of those areas that people don't really want to go into because it doesn't seem quite as fun and it's a bit daunting. And the same with something like retopology. But I imagine because those things aren't as fun, there's a lot of call for them. We're looking for ways the computer can do it for us a lot of the time. So just do your research, I suppose. Think about these things for yourself. Look around the industry. Look at job listings and so forth to get an idea. It's a very tough one to answer. I need $300 per month to exist. That's pretty good going. So it depends what country you're in for that. But is it possible to do with 3D modelling working from home? It depends how skilled you are. And the thing is, with all these portfolios we're looking at, we've seen different levels, and it's tough, isn't it? Because a few of these people that we've looked at today, you're in a position where you're probably still wanting to get some sort of foothold in the industry somewhere, and you're probably going to have to team up with someone and make your own little game or movies and stuff, where you're getting hardly anything and peanuts. Or you might even have to, dare I say it, take on a few jobs for free to sort of build up your portfolio, which I kind of think's okay. I know people are going to kill me for saying that, but because that's the level you are at a beginner. You just want to do, and you want to create, and you want to have challenges, to go into competitions and all those sort of things, build up your portfolio. When you've got a good portfolio, then you can start thinking about the income and whether you can do it to survive, if that makes sense. Again, it's tough to answer. I'm making enough from 3D to survive in England, and it's quite an expensive place to live in a sense, and the south of England is expensive as well. Hopefully that's answering your questions. Okay, so 8 o'clock now. It's getting pretty desperate in terms of timing. So we'll go for one more portfolio, and this seems like a popular topic, so I will do this again in sort of future streams. I'm having so much fun doing this. Thank you all for joining me. This is really great fun and enjoyable. I don't know why I'm getting such a buzz from this, but this is the most we've had so far, 334. Oh, amazing. Next portfolio is from Ricardo Cakes, I think. I don't know how you... so they've called themselves a 3D character artist, so let's have a look So this is someone who's got a specific pathway that they're looking at. So that's this is probably a good one for us to look at. Okay, so again, the first thing we look at is, in fact, this is what we see first. Okay, so we see these, and it may be the case that if your best work isn't up here, then they might think, nah, next. So be careful of that. Make sure it's up here. And yes, it's a good idea to have a background image like this one. I'm not so sure about the squinting in your eyes. You sort of seem to be doing that in the photo. Weirdly, the photo will make a difference. People will make judgments on your photo, so be careful. You could even have a piece of your artwork there, but I quite like the fact that people are not afraid to show their face. So you're from Brazil. Hello to anyone else from Brazil? Anybody else from Brazil? In fact, thank you for the stream, blah blah blah. Yep. I think there's too much of a lag to do those sort of questions and then get response. For hopefully I'll figure these things out as we go along, and I'll figure out how to get rid of lag. Okay, so my eyes are drawn obviously to the first one, very much to this green character here. This line then pops up, and I'm not really noticing these for some reason. I don't know why, but my eyes just aren't drawn to that area. Okay, then I'm starting to scroll down, having a look. This looks like an interesting piece, and it is similar to the one up there. I'm certainly noticing a sort of horror style, and we're scrolling down and we're seeing a bit more. Okay, so this is interesting. Let's have a look, and just from the front page, which pieces would I get rid of? Okay, because that's you've got a lot of pieces, and you don't need that many. They probably won't all be looked at, so you're only as good as your weakest piece of work. And I would say the weakest piece of work on here from the photo looks like this one. I can sort of see that you want to keep this in here, but it feels a bit distracting. This has the Blender background in. Let's just click on that one. So we can sort of see it in Blender here, and you shouldn't, well, in my opinion, you shouldn't do that. You should be showing final renders. And if you wanted to show it sort of working in the viewport or something, have a screen capture of it or something like that, but final renders mainly, only in the, and I don't know, it just looks a little bit amateurish for some reason. I'm not saying that you are, but it just has that sort of feel. Excuse me. Okay, let's have a quick look at this line. So it looks sort of very metallic. Let's go down. I like the way you displayed it. It looks a teeny bit wobbly around there. Is that a good idea, putting your Gmail? Probably okay. I mean, most of the time people, I suppose it depends where you're posting this, but most of the time people will know to come over here to contact you, and that's unnecessary, and it can detract a little bit, and you can't click on it anyway, so it's unlikely people are going to sort of be writing it down. Time is kind of the essence when people are looking at your portfolio, and you want to get as much across to them as possible in the time that they are willing to give. And it might, and I think on average, 7 seconds or something crazy like this. I'm not sure if that's specific to portfolios, but when you're selling something, you've kind of got 7 seconds apparently. Otherwise, they move on and they ignore you or whatever. I think that's more in advertising anyway. Okay, this is interesting. It's good that you've got a lot of detail. That's good. Yep, and there's the sort of render. Yep. We haven't got any topology though. That might be handy, because at the moment I'm thinking, right, am I going to use you as my game artist? But how high poly is this? And we haven't got any detail about the polygon count over here, so that might be something worth doing. Now, I don't want to be too critical of your art style. It's not my thing. Horror is never my thing. It's good that you've got this particular avenue that you're going down. But I feel like there is lacking a bit of understanding of anatomy, and I'm being super critical now, and I'm thinking, as an employer, I'm pretending to be an employer, I'm thinking, they're not bad, but they're not great. And actually, I could say that about myself, in fact, so I'm not being super critical to you. It's something that you can sort of see in your work. It's not, like I said, it's not bad. Let's take this piece, for example. It's not bad, and it's a monster, so who you can't really say as bad anatomy because it's a made-up monster. But it's things like coming in here, which in fact, let's go on to Sketchfab and actually which if it's going to load up. So yeah, coming in here, this sort of overlap here just looks a bit unnatural. And their hips at the front sort of come out too much. Again, it's not bad, and your muscle structure, your understanding of the muscle groups is good. But I feel like it's not quite right. There's something missing. Maybe it's just me. It's good lighting here, by the way. But I feel like that's where you need to work on the most. So it certainly looks like you're sculpting these things. So doing a few sculpt Januaries and just really bashing it out, as they say, doing loads of work on the sculpting aspects and really going for it. Why can I not get back to... Oh, okay. Let's have a look at this character as well. I'm thinking about the anatomy. Again, it's not bad. It would be good to see polygon count again. But it's just not quite right. Okay, so in here, if I could... No, I can't click on that. But there should be sort of a muscle in here. So it's just minor things like that, but it will be noticed, especially if you are classing yourself as a character model. You have to have exceptionally good understanding of anatomy if you want to have a good career, good long career in this industry. I'm not saying that you won't get work, and hopefully you've got some work, but if you want to get to that next level, really concentrate on your anatomy loads. In fact, where are we? Anatomy for Sculpt is a great book. I'm not getting a commission for that, but that is a must-have book for someone like you. You can actually just look at their site and their Instagram. They've got lots of details, and you could work from that. But I would recommend getting the book. And there's no affiliated links. I'm not selling that one. They gave it to me for free. But I'm very pleased that they gave it to me because it is really fantastic. Anyway, so what are people saying on the chat? Lion looks amazing. Are you into one-man game development too? Oh, is this me? No, sorry, this is a question for someone else. Sorry, I'm not reading things properly. Death Stranding player here. Horror not your thing? You like Warhammer? I do indeed, Halal. Yes, you know me too well. Freaky art. The entire lore is horror. The entire lore is horror? I think the monster looks a bit flat. Are we talking about this one? Because yes, it does look a bit flat. So when you're rendering, I suppose that's going to happen if you're in the viewport, and that's why final renders are important. Just seeing if that's my wife to pick her up. It seems really stupid, doesn't it, that I'm looking at my watch, seeing if I'm being summoned by my wife. Oh dear, on a live stream. Anyway, yes, it's flat, so we need some lighting in there. Your understanding of lighting in this model was really cool. That's how we need it displayed, really. Yeah, so I would take that out in favour of this one, or like that one better. I think we've got a bit of 2D art in here as well. I'm not sure your 2D art is as strong as your 3D art, so I might be tempted to take it out as well. This sort of lighting is good. This sort of lighting, that's pretty cool as well, although it's very bright on the base there. Yes, yeah. I feel like you're very niche as well, so there's... But that's not a bad thing. 1 minute I'm saying be niche as in specialist, and then another moment I'm not, so tricky one really. I just feel like you're dangerously specialist with the horror. This is interesting. Let's have a look at this character. It's not so horror, this one. Careful of that. Make sure the hands don't dig into the staff. On a portfolio piece, that's really important because this looks really cool, doesn't it? It's a cool piece. I like this one. It's got some real sort of action to it. Yeah, this is good. The way you've displayed this is nice. Let's look further down. And that's good. You've shown that you understand rigging. Topology we need to see as well. That's cool. And then yeah, a bit of texturing. This is good. I'm not sure whether that's necessary, so don't go overboard. Am I being too critical? Everybody? But this is a really nice bit, although it's a bit grainy. A little bit grainy in the render, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe that's an overlay actually. But yeah, hopefully that's given you some ideas there. Ricardo, is it? Yes, it is Ricardo. Thank you for sending your portfolio, and thank you to everybody for sending in your portfolio. I'll just have a few more questions, and then I may have to stop because we have been 2.25 hours. Is it really 2.25 hours? It is 2.25 hours. That's crazy. Flat in the anatomy, yes. Sorry, Soul Skinner OG. They were saying the anatomy looks quite flat. Yes, I think that is more the render actually than the anatomy itself, because there it looks decent-ish. Calf muscles are a bit excessively big and ankles are a bit wide. But can you see someone like me who's not an absolute expert? It's what I do okay. To be fair, it's one of my specialisms, if you can call it that, character modelling and hand painting. Although I don't really, sometimes as artists we are hypercritical of ourselves, and I really don't feel like an expert. But let's pretend for a moment that I am somewhat of an expert. But if I'm able to tell that, then other people will notice that, especially in industry who are looking for character artists. They are going to be character artists themselves, senior character artists, and they're going to notice these things straight away. In fact, is Ricardo with us at all? Let me know if you are. Is that so? Hang on, I'm trying to think who's who here. The human skin-coloured monster. Oh, well, so I might be getting the wrong. So people are commenting. The human. The anatomy looks flat on this one. Yeah, I think that's partially the design, but I can see what you mean. It looks sort of flattish around here. Yeah, and I think we've really gone to town on Ricardo for some reason. I feel like I have, and being super harsh. Usually, I'm more harsh to people that are doing well. Because I feel like you need to be more critical to get even more out of them, because they're quite a high level already. So hopefully take that as a compliment. Well done. Okay, so let's just have a quick look for any more questions and things. I'm really feeling like I ought to stop in case I have to run off any second to pick up my wife from the station. She lost her phone in London, so she had to get the train back to London to pick it up. Luckily, someone had handed it in to the pub. She lost it. Why am I telling you my wife's story? Why? It's probably time for me to call it a day, isn't it? Any other final questions or final thoughts from anybody? So I think Richard Lincoln on here is Ricardo Cakes or something on here. I'm a bit confused. Because it looks like you're answering as in, yeah. So hopefully that was good for you. Hang on. I'm completely confused actually. What's going on? Your portfolio was not reviewed. Yeah, there was. I've spent probably too long perhaps on these ones, and there'll be other opportunities. I'll make it a more regular thing, because I think it's very handy, isn't it, to have people look at your portfolio. Do also go onto the Discord server, and there's a portfolio section. I know it's a bit more tricky on those sort of Discord servers, because people might not get back to you or might not have time to look, and you sort of get lost in the sea of all the stuff that seems to be happening on Discord. So I will do another one of these, so don't panic. I have loads of fun doing this, so it's certainly not the only one that I'm going to do. And also, I think, when is the competition deadline? I think the competition deadline on the Discord server is Sunday at 12 midnight on Sunday. So on Monday I'll be doing another live stream, and it'll be a live stream of the competition results. So I'll go through everybody's work and we can chat about it and have some more fun like this. This is great, isn't it? I'll probably do it on the Monday evening time, because that's when most people are on. But maybe I ought to change it up a bit to give those people a chance who I don't get to see at other times. Anyway, thank you all for watching and joining in with the chat. Thank you for posting your portfolios. I will take a look at those again another time. Oh, hang on. Will you keep the current order of portfolios on Discord, so some of us won't have to add the link again? That's a good question. Watch this space, because I'm worried that that's going to get full up and I will have lost where I was in the portfolio thing. But that probably is the best way. I'll give that some thought and get back to people on Discord, if that's all right. I do try and post on the YouTube as well, but I don't think everybody can read that because it doesn't pop up on people's feeds and stuff. Anyway, Anyway, yeah. So I'm just having a read if there's anything else. Yes, I remember in grade school, my art teacher gave me a C grade when I knew I was better than most. I asked him why, and his answer was that I had more potential. I think, yeah, maybe that's where I'm coming from, being more critical of those people that are doing more detailed work and things. So thank you for understanding, Arthur. Anyway, I will leave it there. Yeah, thank you all for your time. Thanks, and it's been wonderful. So I will end the stream, if it actually ends the stream. It sometimes doesn't work. Anyway, so thank you very much. Thanks for watching, and happy blendering, as I sometimes say. Bye bye.